Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Wannabes podcast, or welcome in if it's your first time viewing. Hello to Twitch and hello to YouTube chat. We hope you guys are doing fantastic this evening. It is just Dreaded and I. Sadly, no Luke, but I see you in chat. Woohoo! Showtime! Hello, Luke. Hope you're doing well. Wish you were here, my man. But hey, tonight we are diving into our review of the 2025 film Until Dawn, which is an adaptation, not an adaptation of the video game. We'll get into more detail here shortly on that, okay? Um, with all that being said, though, before we dive in, Dreaded, I have a big announcement for everybody.
Then give your announcement.
All right, y'all. Right now, you should maybe head on over to our store because you can celebrate the moms in your life by enjoying 20% off your order in our merch store. The sale does end May 12th, the day after Mother's Day at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. So yeah, head on over there, shop your favorite stuff. You can shop the Wannabes podcast, my other show Techeries, Through to Tash, and French Kitty. So yeah, get it. Go get some stuff on sale because who doesn't like a good sale? Thanks to the moms for allowing this great time period to have a great sale. So yeah, that honestly, that's my announcement.
There you go.
Woo!
You have to get the word out.
Savings. Okay, so do you want to give everybody a quick rundown of what the video game Until Dawn is?
Yep, I would be happy to. So, in 2015, PlayStation dropped an interactive drama survival horror game known as Until Dawn. It's basically one of those games where you're playing a movie. You make different choices that can lead to different circumstances. You can choose or help or provide. Point is, it's kind of up to you on who may make it out alive, who doesn't, what you can discover, what you don't, what you do, what you don't, etc. And it was a big hit when it first dropped because, back in 2015 when playthroughs were big on YouTube, everyone was on Until Dawn. So I can't think of one of the big gamers who didn't play Until Dawn. And it did take some time before I myself played it because I watched a whole lot of content on it. But let it be known, Until Dawn is a game that I definitely have a big time love for. Which is why when the movie was announced, I was so not happy.
Why? Why is that? Like, what made you hesitant about this film?
Well, like I said, Until Dawn was basically a movie already. But in the thing, it was your movie. So, if they were going to adapt it, so are they gonna make a solid choice on what's the quote unquote maybe canon ending towards the game if they were adapting that story? But then it turns out they weren't adapting the game. They were doing a whole new story. And I was like, then why make it? And why call it Until Dawn if that's not what's going to be? It was Until Dawn in my eyes was I was almost like, just why even make this? If you adapt it accurately, then what's the point, honestly? Because it's your story. It's already a movie. Sure. But if you don't, then how the hell is this Until Dawn? So yeah, those were the big two things on why Until Dawn, the movie, in my opinion, I thought was not going to work at all. I give him one. He has two thumbs and is me. Okay, fair enough.
So, to get back to what I said earlier to everybody, because after I say this bit, I'll get into box office so everybody can see how the movie's been performing. Until Dawn, the movie is a 2025 American survival horror film directed by David F. Sandberg from a screenplay and story by Gary Doberman and Blair Butler. So it is said to be derived from the 2015 video game published by PlayStation Studios, as Dreaded you were talking about. It is set in the same universe while featuring an original standalone story. We'll get there.
Yeah, we will get there.
And it's supposed to. Literally, they say that this is this original standalone story is meant to expand upon the game's mythology. So we'll get into that. We'll get into that. But yeah, so in a weird way, this is not a direct adaptation of the video game, but it is a adaptation of the game franchise, if you will. not even franchise, just title. Like they're taking their quote unquote own story within the world of that game, but it's not the game. It's not the story specifically of the game. So, with all that being said, before we dive into our thoughts and feelings and everything else, let's talk about budget and box office as we always do. So, this
Of
film
course.
was actually made for only $15 million. So, I had a pretty small budget, which I could see that in most areas, small cast, really simple shoot. They had some practical stuff going on for effects. Like, you, I'm not surprised that this is a lower budget, and it's definitely a B, like a B horror movie.
Hmm.
Diving into box office, though, in the United States and Canada, Until Dawn was released alongside The Accountant 2, the wide expansion of Legend of Ochi, and the re-release of Star Wars Episode 3: Revenge of the Sith, which, by the way, that was for its anniversary that's happening right now. But it was projected to gross $8 to $10 million from 3,055 theaters in its opening weekend. It made 3.2 million on its first day and went on to debut for 8 million, finishing fifth in box office. So the most recent numbers I have available to me is as of April 29th, 2025, Until Dawn has grossed 9.5 million in the United States and Canada and 10.1 million in other territories for a worldwide total of 19.6 million. So they outdid their box office numbers so far. They debuted within what they were expecting and have since over
Hmm.
doubled what their debut was since release. So it's not too
Yeah.
bad, especially for
Yeah.
us. It's over breaking even at this point, so not bad for a B-rated horror film.
Hmm.
So
Well, good for it.
yeah. So what I want to talk about now, Dreaded, or not rather talk about, I want you because I do know the video game. You know it, and I think even more so you remember it way better than I do. So I want you to kind of go ahead and guide this. Like,
Hmm.
where do you want to start and how do you want to compare this and everything else?
Well, comparing it to the game is kind of tricky since it's definitely not exactly a direct adaptation. But let's start with what the premise of both games are, actually, because there are similarities, but there are some major differences, actually. I mean, both properties, should I say, not games, shit. So, going back to the game, actually, the premise was like about a year ago, this group of friends played a prank on one of their friends that was super humiliating. And in embarrassment, she ran out into the woods. Her twin sister went to find her, but things went wrong. And unfortunately, they ended up going missing. Although I'll just say now, one of them was actually dead. A year later, the group decided to reunite at the cabin where it all happened for, a reunion of something and a way to remember them, not knowing that behind everything, something very sinister is going on within, the mountain that they're hanging out on, and maybe
Mhm.
somebody might be planning some revenge, actually. And now the group, or should I say, it is up to you to make certain choices and figure out who will survive until dawn. I'll go into more stuff about the game when we get more into the movie as well. The movie is surprisingly a tad bit similar, but very different. See, the movie's premise is actually, blah, 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 blah. Sorry, I just lost my words for a sec.
No, you're good.
Our main girl, Clover, her sister went missing, I think, about a year ago, was it?
Yeah,
Well, either way, she went
it was
missing.
about a year or so, I think.
I think so. However, while looking for, clues to her whereabouts, they end up finding themselves at a mysterious inn that is surprisingly not being hit by rain. It's almost like it's in the eye of the storm, actually.
I will say I really liked that shot of
That,
this
that was really
of
cool,
like
yeah.
looking up at the sky. That looked sick. Not gonna
It
lie.
did. Yeah. While at this end, they end up becoming targeted by what they thought was some mass psycho, only to realize that every time they die, time rewinds back to the moment where, well, a specific moment of when they were in the end. Now, through more shenanigans, more discovery, they discover they only have so much time, and only way to escape this is to survive until dawn. So already there are the briefest similarities. You've got a group of friends, a
Yeah.
missing sister or sisters, and surviving until dawn to untold horrors within this remote area that they're located in. Now, with that being said, the premise ends like the actual similarities between how what the story is ends there. But that doesn't mean the movie didn't do its homework on elements from the game, actually. So before we move into like some of those aspects, I think let's talk about the characters first, actually,
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
I feel like it's gonna be quick.
Yeah. So, I mean, man, who do you want to talk about first? Which one of them?
I mean, I guess we can start with our main girl, Clover. I suppose the girl who's
Okay.
looking for her sister.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't really. I mean, we can just start with her, but I'm gonna be real with you. I don't have that much to say about the characters, other than maybe one trait about them that I would say kind of stands out. Certain ones, should I say? Like, I'm gonna be real with you. I don't really have much to say about Clover. She's fucking Clover.
I was gonna say they're all pretty like by the numbers. They're
Yeah,
they're not anything spectacular. They're very simple. They're kind of they're the type of characters I would expect going to see a film like this.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Like you have
Uh,
so like to explain everybody real quick for the relationship. You have Clover who's looking for her lost sister that she doesn't know is dead or just doesn't want to accept the fact that she's probably dead. Then you have Max who is her ex-boyfriend who definitely wants to get back with her. Then you have kind of like the really brazen like really to the fact one Nina. She's really cool and has her weird new boyfriend Abe who's the psychology major. Um
and low key, my favorite character. Low
Honestly,
key.
I'm kinda with you on that. And then you have, the other girl, Megan, who's just kind of like our preppy kinda psychic gal, and I'm
Yeah,
gonna
that was interesting.
Clover's okay. I like Clover more the more that the movie goes on because we
Hmm.
kinda get away from her but my sister act, you know?
Yeah,
And like I think she does get better as the movie goes on, but still they're all paint by the numbers. They're all very simple. I don't
I
mind
will.
Max. Like I don't really hate any of them, if that makes
I don't.
sense.
I don't think I hate anybody, but I don't love. I do like their like. I guess kind of one bigger trait. Like I like that Max is actually a genuine good guy who's looking out for people.
Yeah. I
Nina is like
really
super straightforward and stuff like
I
that.
really like Nina specifically when um like she actually stabs her own boyfriend. And
I like.
like when they come to my favorite line of hers is like him first. Just like cuz
Yeah,
yeah, I don't that I was like okay, I fuck with Nina here. But can I complain about Megan? Cuz Megan's I think the
yes.
one I hate the most.
You can complain about Megan. Go right ahead.
They made her psychic. And I'm going to be fucking honest with you, it was not necessary. We did not need this psychic ability. They were making fun of her for it and I have personal opinions on that topic and matter that make honestly, I think the whole psychic part of it with her character could be borderline offensive to people who
Hmm.
believe in that thing. Um, and really just not necessary other than, oh, it's stronger this time. I can sense it. Like, okay, yeah, I would hope so. Like, you're getting
I
killed and brought back all the fucking time. I'd hope y'all be able to fucking start sensing some shit. I don't know. I
I
just think it was put in there because they needed to have a psychic character in a story that didn't need a psychic character.
I think they put that in there to make a somewhat reference to the totems you can find in the game.
I think so
That's what
too.
I was getting at. That's what I felt like. They're
I
not doing the
agree.
totem, but I feel like low key that was their kind of thing. But
It could have been done so much better.
it could
I
have been done
it's
very different or
either
better.
either make her like psychic sensitivity more prominent and more important,
Hmm.
or just don't worry about it. Just, like
Pretty much.
as much as like it'd be cool to have the totems and everything, it's not like the movie needed the totems. Especially if she is meant to be the representation of the totems, they did an awful job.
Yeah, it was.
So
Although I also think this too. Then I was picking up a few references to other horror properties. I could be looking super into it, but that scene where she's like possessed and her eyes are all black and everything like that. The only thing I think of was that a reference to this movie called Gonjiam Haunted Asylum, which is a 2018 Korean horror film.
okay.
And
I wouldn't be too surprised. This because this is pretty paint by the numbers. I wouldn't be surprised if they pulled inspiration or call. things that could
You call
easily be
back.
called back to other horror franchises or movies.
Also, I will say this too on the topic of Gonjiam Haunted Asylum. If anyone here ever watched Grave Encounters, I personally think Gonjiam is the better version of that movie. Basically the
Mm,
same movie,
good to
but
know.
I
Good to
think
know.
Gonjiam was better.
Good to know.
So either that was the reference to that movie, or it was a somewhat reference to the totem somehow. Which either way, it wasn't as important. It really wasn't
Yeah.
important at the end of the day.
I
So, but
I
when it,
did like Abe. I think I liked Abe the most. I started getting annoyed with Abe near the end, but then he was kind of like our weird voice of reason and kind of the smart guy that people wouldn't listen to for a little while. And there's always one of them in the group, and sometimes I feel like it's usually me. And so maybe I just kind of was like, "Bro, I feel you."
I get it too, because even I was like, it feels cowardice and kind of an asshole remove on some of what you said and do, but at the same time, you're not wrong. You're
Yeah,
really not. But however,
especially when you know if you die, you're gonna just reset anyway. Might as well get the
uh
info. Just say it.
true. But also, I can imagine I don't want to keep this, or just in case this goes wrong, like
Oh,
I want to
absolutely,
get out of here. Just
absolutely.
I get it. I understand why everyone else is mad at him too. Although one thing he said about to Max about him and Clover, that was out of pocket. Like, come on, that was not the time for that.
Tensions rising, you know.
Yeah. But characters, one note, I mean, I don't personally hate Megan or nothing like that. I think that's more of a oh yeah, wait.
Okay, I
I
don't
didn't
hate Megan. I just don't like the psychic side of her because I genuinely don't think it was needed.
mm. There is another character in this movie, and this I want to save that for later actually, because that's where the movie gets
Mm,
very confusing for me.
that's sure that's fair.
hmm Now, so characters, whatever. Now, here's what I will say this too, and even the critics said this as well about the movie, because despite not actually following the game, the movie with its premise and how they execute things actually low key stands on its own 2 feet pretty well.
I actually 100% agree with that. It does a pretty good job of standing
hmm
on its own. Do I think this is like a an amazing film? I'm gonna come out from the gate and say it. No, it's not. But it does
Same.
well taking ideas, in my opinion, from the game Until Dawn and reincorporating them into kind of their own entity for this film.
hmm Like, oh man, I want to like let's get into like the nods to the game, because, like I said, this movie did its homework. Like, for example, the mask Psycho, that is literally the mask that of what one of the characters was wearing to prank his friends when they thought that was the big problem on the mountain. It's like the same design, clothing, serial killer esque. So that was really cool. I mean, that was in the trailer, but it was really nice to see. Like, okay, there goes that. What was I gonna say? I like that when they get into some of the backstory of the town or the once town they were in, they mention a mine collapse actually, which actually was a big thing in the game too. Like that's a
Yeah, I
whole
remember
cool
that.
line you can learn about in the game. So I was like, okay, that's cool as hell too.
I wish we could like
Uh,
I really wanted more exploration of the city, like the
mm,
lost town. I think almost like catacomb style where everything's beneath the ground because of how and you were able to just basically find this underground city. I don't know why my brain like wants like a horror film like that really bad now. Maybe because I've also heard just a crazy bunch of cool like ghost stories and stuff from areas just like that.
one of the cool things about this movie with this premise is that each time they die, it's not the same thing that's hunting them. Each time they come back, something new arises. First, it was the psycho. Then it was apparently the ghost, actually, or the witch, and then it was the water. The best one was the water. Guys, trust me, the water was the best horror thing they had to deal with. It was the most funniest, definitely, because I did not see that shit coming at all.
Oh, as soon as he drank the water, like as he turned down, started down, I was like, "Don't drink the water." I'm like, "Why are you drinking
That
the water? Don't drink the water."
I I said don't
My
drink it because
brain,
it looked disgusting,
well, like
but
that too, but that is how I'm like, I don't know. I have bad vibes about the water. Don't drink the water.
that shit was funny. Oh, I wish they went more into this because this is in the trailer. But what was that giant thing? What the hell was that?
I don't know, dude. Like
That
when
was
they
the coolest one.
that was really cool. Obviously, us crazy like kaiju like monster fans love. No surprise that we like this thing. It was like a weird, like, Bigfoot meets, like, some sorta, like, weird other mythological creature that I, like, can envision in my brain, but I can't think of, like, the name. It was very weird, and I kinda wish we got more of it because, like, it I guess, was that real? Was that fake? Was that in their minds, and it was just some sort of thing that was able to keep them from leaving the
That's what I
area?
think it had to have
Like,
been.
I don't know, like, I'm very curious. I really wanted to know more about that specifically.
Shit. I have a whole. I was in the theater taking notes on a lot of stuff because I've got to remember a lot of these references too. Because I also like that the skull that's on the time clock is actually the same skull you can see in the Until Dawn game poster. So that was a neat little thing. What was I gonna say? There's also like the littlest. I feel like this movie did its homework so well that the littlest thing. Because keep in mind, I played a lot of Until Dawn. I watched a lot of it, so like I noticed so much little things. Like when you see how each night the writing on the what we call the journal that you check in on each as it went further was getting more feral and like somebody wasn't really writing anymore. It's
Sure.
literally like one of the clues when you discover a character who turned into a Wendigo. Where that was a cool little nod as well.
Very cool.
Uh, I'm not sure if Max not liking clowns was a reference to a choice you can make in the game. Because I mean, that could just be just in there. But I noticed so much shit. I might be reading so much into it and everything like that.
No, that I think it's good though because, you know, there I would hope that for its namesake that it would have callbacks and references to the video game. Even though it's not doing a direct adaptation, I would hope it would have inspiration from it within it. You know what I mean? So like I am happy to see that there are things that are making you think, "Oh, this could be potentially a nice callback they did from the game." That's good. I appreciate that.
If you don't get your ass out of here,
I'm sorry, I got him. You go ahead.
cool. What other references? The Blackwood Sanitarium, which is a sanitarium you can explore in the game, not in the movie actually, but it is referenced by name, so that is super cool as well. Freaking the scene with this where shit. I wonder if are we gonna like see genuinely spoiler or what are we doing?
Let's see. When did it come out? It came out the 25th. I I'm personally fine with spoilers, but
Thank
it's up to
God.
you.
Okay, so Wendigos are in this movie.
Yes.
Wendigos are here, so that is cool. And what is really fucking cool is one of the Wendigos has an exact replica design from a Wendigo in the game. Yeah, I caught that. I knew that from that. I
Sick.
also love that there is a scene where a character is studying them and it's strapped to a chair, which is literally something you can find in the game. Like, oh, you guys really did your goddamn homework. And oh man, one of the coolest fucking nods, the don't move moments in the PlayStation game. So in the game, because this was on PlayStation 4, and this was around the time where the controller was being able to be utilized for like movement and stuff like that. In Until Dawn, there are moments where if you're like hiding or a Wendigo is super close because they can't see your movement,
Mhm.
you have to like hold completely still so that thing does not kill you. There is a moment in the movie where Clover is literally doing that. She literally just stops moving while there's a Wendigo all right in her face. It is literally like it's the final don't move encounter. It is literally like the final one from the game. So I applaud big time. That was a great nod right there. Sorry, I'm just deleting notes, everything I bring
No,
up.
you're good.
And
I
also, I
love
just
it.
want to bring this up too. Did we get a Silent Hill reference in this movie too?
It kind of felt like we did, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's why I was thinking, like, are we referencing movie? That's because like the Ganjiam haunted asylum moment, and then it was like the siren, and I like, are we this Silent Hill too? Damn.
I
So
want
I
to
am.
ask you, there was a big time jump where, because I think we had seen how many nights? Like four, maybe five,
Mm-hmm.
and then it jumps because like you basically nobody's name goes past 13 in the book.
Yep.
So, we lose a shit ton of nights that they give a little bit of a recap, like, because Abe has been recording on his phone. So,
Mm-hmm.
we've been able to see, like, kind of progressions, other like, the whole weird, like, leech parasite thing,
Oh
that
God.
everybody sees in the trailer. That's literally all it is. It's
Mm-hmm.
nothing bigger than that in the movie. But I guess my curiosity is how did you feel about the time skip? Because for me, it actually felt a little abrupt.
I agree with you, but I will say this: I feel like on paper that was actually a really cool idea. If they executed it better, I think that would have been a really cool thing to do. Actually,
I
so
think
I'm
it would
very
have been
mixed.
nice. Honestly, I think it would have helped. Like, let's say they did exactly what they did, right?
Hmm.
But we bring in a scene of maybe multiple times we just see the constant switching and flipping of the hourglass in the sand to let us know that time is being passed. We're not showing you all of this, and then they kind of recap what we've missed, how they
Hmm.
did. I think that would have made it feel a little less abrupt and jarring. I understand why they didn't show everything. Otherwise, this film would have been way longer than it needed to be, and we would have been
Yeah,
having real big pacing problems. But I think they could have taken maybe an extra 5 minutes or less to ease you into that adjustment and that progression.
I think a better version of that plot moment is imagine if the movie started like imagine if the time loop didn't start when they're in the inn. Imagine it started like when they were at the cab, like the gas station or the store, right?
Mhm.
But as the movie went on, they started learning like, wait a minute, is this mine? Or like, why do I remember this for some reason? And then by that part of the movie, you realize since the beginning they've been in this time loop. I feel like that's a good idea for a different movie. So I kind of fucks with that idea, but the fact that it's super abrupt is kind of it does hurt it a little bit.
Yeah,
So,
I
so
do
like I said,
agree.
on paper, good
It did
idea.
bring it, like, I don't blame them for the time skip because I do think a time skip is needed,
Hmm.
but I don't agree with the exact way they did it.
Yeah, that's fair. Also, I want to return to something with the Wendigo because as much as I
Yeah,
like it in the
absolutely.
movie, this I think maybe I feel like you'd agree with me too because we're both super like into like some of these occult like things. I'm not a fan of the Wendigo transformation not being accurate.
Yeah, I'm kind of there with you too. Like they're showing, oh, this is a Wendigo, and literally, I like scratched my head and I was like, but that's not a Wendigo.
Yeah, it's really
Like,
not.
I mean,
Like the
sure,
design.
flavor it, stylize it, cool, fine, whatever. But like, there, I don't know, it wasn't like I wanted it to be more accurate than it was.
Yeah, because like when to actually become a Wendigo, you actually have to be like like some completely pushed to consume human flesh and then it will take possession of you. But in this movie, the longer you are there, the more times you die until you get to the 13th, you're slowly becoming one. Which if you were a different creature, that's fine, but since we're going with it's a Wendigo, that no.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, obviously, it was making. I guess like I think they did an okay job in the when we were seeing the tape with
Yeah,
like
that was
with
fine.
the doctor character, which we'll get into a little bit later, guys. Because we know we want to talk about this character as well. There is a doctor. He is important, kind of. But anyway, sorry. There's like this callback of like hit in the I don't want to say asylum, but was it an asylum?
Something like that.
I can't remember like its actual name on the map. But we're
Well,
gonna call it
because
an asylum for the sake of me not being able to remember the hospital name. Um, but so there, like the whole scene of like showing the progression, I do think it showed this like building and crave and hunger. But what bothers me is like I think it's like it does become a Wendigo, like it breaks and eats the flesh, and then we get the final form that we see them actually being chased by. Like, I
mhm,
do think there is, like, hints of like, the what we considered mythologically the progression of a Wendigo, but, um, I I see how they were trying to tie it together is I guess what I'm trying to say.
mhm,
And I do appreciate that but then I feel like it was lost because gonna let y'all know, we see a moment they're slowly progressing to becoming Wendigos themselves. And we
mhm.
see Abe having the spines, the Wendigo spines at a point. And I think that that was just the show, oh yeah, they're going through this. But like there wasn't ever as big of progression in signs and symptoms as what was being shown in the video. It's like
Ye
they all had plot armor. I feel like at this point they should have been way further into that progression, I would have assumed, with the way it we have 13 days. Well, but at the end of 13, you're scribbling, barely being able to write. Your name's not even legible. Like, I feel like they're in Wendigo mode, but
Hmm.
they're not. They're way better than what we saw even in the video. So I think there was kind of like a, okay, guys, so like, how long does this really take? Can you go past 13 days?
They did leave that kind of ambiguous on that. Maybe some people had it different. Who knows?
Yeah, it
So
was
there was that
definitely. I like the idea of the Wendigo, but I think it was executed a little
badly.
confusingly. It's like it wasn't executed awful, but I think it could have been executed better. But I don't necessarily know what the full better way would have been.
The better way was definitely you would have to go with a different premise for the movie, actually.
No, and that's fair. No, that's fair.
And it's weird because they do have like interesting setups for the Wendigo to actually work, considering this used to be a mining town. And when they dug too deep into the earth, like they established in the game, like messing with digging into the earth, you unleash something hidden within.
Yeah.
But of course, then the transformation itself just isn't accurate. And also, I just want to say this too, because this is going to get onto another point. While the designs are very accurate to the game, I wish they moved like how they did in the game, because I like the way this unnatural like speed way of how they move in the game. In the movie, they run like people actually,
I think
which
that's
will
just
also
because
bring me to this.
they're actually being acted by actual people. So we
Yeah,
have, if we look at IMDb, there is actually
people playing them.
6 different people who are casted as Wendigos.
Yeah,
So
credits to what credits due for the effect. I mean, the makeup on them, and they're looking very accurate towards the game. But I do wish they actually moved how they did in the game though, because that I like
that's
how
fair.
they do.
I think that adds a
Then
good creep factor to him in the game.
yeah, and then speaking of like Wendigos and stuff like that, I want to talk about the actual horror in this horror movie.
Yeah.
It's a jump scare fest.
Oh fuck yeah, dude!
Yeah, that's
Literally,
all it is.
it was jump scare after jump scare. I'm like, come on, guys, you can
Yeah,
make this.
it was getting old.
I was getting frustrated because I'm like, this is such a good film, and I think the game does it pretty good too. Like, don't get me wrong, there are some jump scares in the game because a good jump
Hmm.
scare is a good jump scare. But when you do too many of them, what's the fucking point anymore?
I feel the
So
game handled jump scares very well
I
on
agree. I
because
agree.
this is a problem I have with horror movies in general. I'm sick of horror movies feeling like they're always setting up for be scared. The game didn't really do that. Like the
Yeah,
jump scares genuinely, I mean, even if it were in a tense moment, they kind of came out of nowhere.
I think so. Like, though this does have like the body horror, like the gore horror and everything else, right? Because like we're literally seeing people implode and guts spraying everywhere.
It was so
Uh,
funny.
but I think one thing that could be said about this, right, is I think this type of film, this type of storyline, is really set up for my favorite horror genre, psychological horror. And I feel like
Mhm.
they weren't setting up a lot for that psychological horror as they were for just to hopefully scare somebody. So they leaned really, really heavily on those like those jump scares, those like kind of stereotypical scare moments rather than really trying to play into my psyche. And I think with especially with what we're getting with Clover and her character's backstory and how she has mental health problems and later the character will dive into more the doctor even telling her stuff about her own brain and how this is working off of her. Like this film is screaming psychological horror, but has little to no psychological horror for me.
The best part of the horror in the game, if you ask me, was the fact that it was unsettling because some of my favorite horror moments is there's a scene where you got to make a choice on what to do, and like, okay, I got to jump down this area to help my friend who just fell, but like for a brief second, you see, oh shit, somebody was behind him.
Mhm.
Or when you're controlling a character walking down the stairs, because it's a fixed camera angle, but slower you go down, if you look down, you see someone else is in the house walking, which was the psycho actually.
Yeah.
Like I like those moments. It was unsettling moments actually of, am I actually safe right now or am I not? Like I loved that, and it was not really present in this movie. Unfortunately, everything was just set up to be a scare, or just everything silent. Just wait for the damn jump scare.
Yeah, I don't know why it is. The game I think did the psychological horror better for sure than the movie. I think
Hmm.
if we had taken more of an approach towards some psychological horror and other like concepts of bringing in that fear and that horror to people than just the the silence meets the jump scares and this and that. Like, I think it could have been more impactful, and who knows, could have ended up making this film better enough for me to be like, oh, this is a B-rated film, but tell you what, this is borderline A-rated. Like I really think all those jump scares brought down the rating for me.
Yeah, definitely. It was getting very irritating. So there goes the horror of everything. And okay, I think we are at a point where let's talk about Dr. Hill.
I loved this actor. I think he did a very, very. I liked the disposition this actor gave us for Doctor Hill.
Mm-hmm.
Which, for anybody who's curious, he is played by Peter Stormare. I'm was literally looking him up because like this man looks like somebody. Who is he? Who is he? I look at
Yeah,
his actual photo and I'm like, who are you?
well, for one, he's Dieter Stark in the Lost World Jurassic Park, and two, this is where things get very confusing. He is Dr. Hill in the Until Dawn game.
I don't hate that. I'm gonna be honest though. I don't hate the fact that they brought the same guy.
I don't for that, but I do for what this means for the movie and the game.
Okay.
Because now, like, okay, for one, let's talk about him in this movie first. Let's talk about him in this movie first, because I think he's a very interesting character in this movie.
I agree with you.
I like how he kind of pops up at random moments to like kind of give some insight to things that are happening actually, and so you learn his actual, I guess, motives. Apparently, I say apparently because despite being interesting, by the end I feel like, what? Why? It's
Yeah.
it's
I,
I just
I
ugh.
really, really liked him until the end. And like
Yeah.
and I still okay, I think I liked him more at the end than you did. However, I think he kind of uh, I think he got too comfortable. And I don't understand why he got too comfortable. Like I'm very like good for Clover on the way that she's able to off this guy. Sorry, he does not quote unquote survive.
Yeah,
Um
that was great.
but like at the same time to me it's like I don't know. I wanted more. Even if the characters didn't get more, I wanted more. Like I don't know, man. There's something about it at the end that really just removes him as this menacing guy to me. Because like he was creepy at the gas station. That kind of was the whole setup of them going here.
Mm-hmm.
And then the few times we do see him kind of walking through, I really liked that.
Yeah,
Like
I did too.
him over the radio, I really enjoyed that. But
But by the end, though,
at the end, though, think I liked the initial entry and the lock and everything. But the more he talked, the more and more I just kind of lost my interest in this character, and I can't quite place why.
I don't. I feel like, okay. How do I word this? What went wrong with Dr. Hill in this movie? Just in a way, it kind of felt pointless. In a way, for me, it just felt kind of pointless by the end. But then it gets worse because here comes like the big reveal. It turns out this movie somehow is taking place within the same universe as the game, like you brought up earlier, because there is a picture of one of the characters from the game, played by Rami Malek, actually, who is Josh Washington in the game. And then
Yeah,
also, spoiler alert, by the end, like the final shot of this movie, at his office, which for the record, a nice recreation of his office from the game. I'll give that movie that as well.
that is true.
Apparently, he's got cameras of the house that took place in the game. Like, what? Huh?
Yeah,
The movie was doing so good with nods and references to the game in such a way, but now you're really telling me it's in the same world? How? Because here's another problem. Like, Dr. Hill in this movie, I guess, either is or was or somehow real, whatever, because of the shit he's doing. But then Dr. Hill in the game, there's two. I mean, the one. Hold on. The Dr. Hill in the game we see a lot is of Josh's mental disturbedness, right? Because, like, again, Josh is the character who is the psycho in the game. He's playing the prank.
yes,
Although the Wendigo stuff is completely beyond him. But the Dr. Hill we interact with in the game is like he's a it's Josh's mental state deteriorating. Like asking him questions about how he feels about and everything like that. But if you find enough clues, you figure out Dr. Hill is a real doctor. He is Josh's actual psychiatrist who genuinely wants what's best for him, even though I don't know if he was him or somebody else who misdiagnosed Josh with his mental problems, actually. So it's like, wait. So you're telling me there's a real Dr. Hill who is Josh's psychiatrist. Then you have the Dr. Hill who's like in Josh's head, who's kind of like taunting and either like kind of egging on his prank he's doing and then also remanding him for it, like, because of course it's flip-floppy with Josh's mental state. And now we have this Doctor who is like, what is Dr. Hill? What is Dr. Hill? Who is Dr. Hill at this point? I don't understand. And that's like, why connect it to the actual game? If they're gonna come on and say it's just a reference again, that doesn't make sense because fucking Josh is here.
It's also like, well, what's crazy to me is it would only make sense if like Dr. Hill's still alive, even though he imploded. Like he would still be alive. Like, does that mean that maybe Dr. Hill is some sort of supernatural being? Like,
Maybe.
there's so many like different speculations you can go with this. I know I've seen people when like researching like a post credit scene meaning, blah blah blah, like seeing stuff like that. Like people are like, is this secretly a prequel to what would be then the story
Of
in
the game?
of the video game? So
Maybe. And like, but it would like, but that still wouldn't fully work in a way, considering that like in the game, Dr. Hill is a real person. He's Josh's psychiatrist who wants what's best. But then like the one we see is in Josh's head. But then like, why would Clover be seeing him too? And he's the same dude. And why is he got a case file of Josh in his office when he's dealing with Clover in this time loop thing?
Unless, can I get a little, as Luke would say, giving this too much more credit than it's worth?
I'm about to do that. I'm about to do that soon anyway. So go right ahead.
Cool. So what I'm thinking is, right? So, well, like obviously we have Dr. Hill back in his office. The screen turns on and he can be heard whistling. So like we
Mm-hmm.
have confirmation in the post credit scene that Dr. Hill is not dead. He is fucking whistling in the background. We
Mm-hmm.
know that this is Dr. Hill and we're seeing the cabin from the game, right?
Yep.
So I'm going to be honest with you. What if they are both his patients, Clover and what was it? What's his name?
Josh.
Josh, thank you. I was about to call him John. I'm like, it's not John. Josh. So what
Uh-huh.
if Clover and Josh are both Dr. Hill's actual patients? We already know she has a problem with mental health. She's tried killing herself in the past. Like, there is this theme, right, of mental health in both stories. So what I'm wondering is, what if both are patients and they're he's kind of, I don't want to say put them under like a psychosis. But what if he's going through like he's doing like this crazy like mental therapy on them and they're put in these weird scenarios. Again, does it make sense? No. But like
But
I don't know like how is he still alive at the end after she just made him implode with the water in his cup?
yeah, and but also like
Unless he's a supernatural being that can't die.
that too. It's just like what the movie's telling us versus what the game is telling us, and then the fact that they're in the same world is the existence of them being in the same world is contradicting what makes sense. That's the big problem for me. So it was like I feel like this is right now is just us trying our hardest just to make sense of something that I feel like the writers wanted to like really say, oh, it's still in the same universe, but like when you didn't follow the plot of the game, like that doesn't fully make sense actually. Because if you look at the game, I like to
Yeah.
I'd imagine like no, the Wendigo problem on the mountain is a genuine thing, but the Wendigo problem here at this inn is like it's a very different thing. It's
Yeah.
just it's two worlds trying to blend, but it doesn't make sense.
Or did Josh just break and this is just Josh's mental state after everything?
I don't even know anymore.
This is him rocking somewhere in a padded cell, and this is what his brain thinks of. I don't know. Like,
I got nothing. Like the idea is
it doesn't
Dr.
make
Hill.
sense because like you were saying though, like Dr. Hill in the game isn't a villain.
No, he's
He's a
not
villain here in this film, but in the game he's not a villain. He's literally the manifestation of Josh's grief.
exactly. Or just like, yeah, he is a manifestation of what Josh is going through and internally, honestly. So it's just so fucking weird.
So like I pulled up I did pull up an article about like trying to
Mhm.
see thing. Apparently in a interview before the release of the movie, the director David F. Sandberg admitted it was tricky to explain exactly like kind of like when certain things take place. So diving into this, like I'm gonna read this whole bit from the article, and because they're
Okay.
saying the same thing we are. They say here's the problem. In the game, Dr. Hill isn't a villain. He's Josh's psychiatrist as well as a manifestation of Josh's grief. He
Hmm.
doesn't kill people, nor does he appear to have any sort of role in what happens to the teens that stay at the lodge. So, even if he is the connective tissue between the film and the game, it is a really big change. And then it continues to say, speaking to Dexerto before the movie's released, director David F. Sandberg admitted it was tricky to explain exactly when it takes place. So here's a quote from him as well. It's an interesting question. I mean, it's an Easter egg, sort of. It's a little tricky because while we were shooting it, we actually sort of said it takes place after the game, but what we're doing at the end implies that it could take place before the game.
That's
Uh
what I got.
so and like here's the truth. There isn't a firm answer. And here's another quote. To be honest, it's not something I've sort of said completely. I think it can be left open, at least until they want to do a sequel and we have to figure out exactly what that is. So, to me, whenever I make a movie, I just focus on making the best movie. I would say the same with Shazam, where we had a post credit scene with Mr. Mind and set up that thing, blah 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 blah. Like basically says, and then the sequel didn't really have anything to do with that, but we could have. You had that option. So like
Mhm.
basically he's like, we're setting it up for future stuff if we want it to, but if it may not ever happen. But
In
like I
that
don't
case,
there's just so much though that leaves up the question like if he said like this could take place after the video game. Well, if it's taking place after the video game, how does Dr. Hill still know about it? He was just a manifestation.
yeah, exactly. Just it's I don't know at this point,
Like
honestly.
I think
But
it was
that
just a choice of like trying to do a really big nod that people are like, "Oh shit, man." But that's also just having us people who really know it being like, "Wait, what?"
what?
None of that makes
Exactly.
sense. No way I put this in the timeline, whether being before or after would make sense with specifically it being Dr. Hill.
Exactly.
If
Or
we had
even
a
what we
different
see.
psychiatrist person who's crazy and evil and the villain, but happened to also be monitoring the situation at the cabin, sure, fine, whatever. But it being Dr. Hill kind of makes it too convoluted.
If you want to, I mean, I wouldn't have been that mad if his name was still Dr. Hill, but if they didn't throw the Josh thing in there or that ending with the cabin, I wouldn't have anything to say. I wouldn't have cared. It have felt like just another solid nod to the game, if you ask me. Okay, so that gets all of that out there. Now, I know we have a lot to say about this movie, positive and I suppose negative, but I want to make this very clear that I don't hate this movie at all. Actually, I really don't.
I had a good time.
Mhm.
Like Dan didn't see it with me, so he asked me how was the film, and I was like, it could be better. It could be a hell of a lot worse. I
Yeah,
actually had a good time with it. I think it's enjoyable. I think it's also even I think it's even more enjoyable for people who don't know the game.
yeah. Even for us who do, no, it's both because it's enjoyable because we can catch the references if we know the game,
Yes.
and
No,
those who don't,
100%.
like we
100%.
said, it stands on its own 2 feet actually pretty well. But okay, this is the big thing I wanted to say too about the movie. This might be me super reading into it actually, because I know I have kind of not been the biggest fan of them changing the premise and everything like that. But despite the references, still great and everything like that. And then I wish the ending didn't do what it did, but I have this to say about maybe why they went with the premise with the time loop thing.
Okay.
Because I'm pretty sure the filmmakers knew we can't just adapt the game. We really just can't, because you played that game. That was your movie in a way, right? So when
Yeah.
they went with their own thing, sure, I was very like, what the fuck? Why would you even do that? But okay, let me put it to you like this, right? I think the time loop thing is another example of the film doing its homework with the game. Because look at it through this lens, right? Say you play Until Dawn the first time, or you watch it, right? You can watch somebody play. No, let me just go with this. You play Until Dawn the first time, and maybe your main objective is get through the game, get through the night, save who you can, save who, and maybe mourn who you can't, right? And everything like that.
Yeah.
But think about it like this too. You play it again. What do? You learn more things. You
Yeah.
explore
It it,
more. You
it is
find
one
more
of those
totems.
games, just like there's a lot of like your choices matter games
Mm-hmm.
where they have multiple endings. Some of them do have like the like one or two hard, like those are the determined, like these are what we consider the proper endings. Some of them
Mm-hmm.
don't have that. So I do think that's a really cool idea and thought process behind this film and its loop mechanic is that it, just like how the game, like you can replay it, make different choices, and get a different outcome. I think that's a really unique and fun way to look at the time loop of this,
Exactly.
for
Yeah,
sure.
that's what I was thinking. And I feel like I thought of that when fucking Abe, I kept thinking like, imagine if Abe and like Nina left, they would have been the sole survivors, and like, I mean, they were almost there and stuff like that. But you know, you didn't. They ended up dying and we went back. And that's when it like clicked to me like, wait a minute. Jacob, like, yeah, like considering the fact that the game, you could have the most which you would have thought characters be the only survivors. Like fucking like Sam and Mike could be characters that you would maybe expect to be the last two survivors, but you can play that game and you can make it only Matt and Chris lived. And I'm just like, if the movie is doing what I think it's doing, that's actually kind of ingenious if you think about
No,
it.
it's
Like
actually
that is like
very, very
that's
smart.
not even that's not even a nod to the game. That's a nod to how the game works as a whole to us players too.
Absolutely.
So maybe I'm looking super into it, but that's kind of like what I thought about it. I'm like, yeah, that kind of does make sense actually as well. Like everything lines up except for that damn ending, but still. So I don't know if I'm reading super into it, but I took that away from the movie actually, and I think you know what? That's the biggest applause I would give you. Not only did you manage to reference inner things in the game, from the psycho, the Wendigos, the gameplay mechanics, but you managed to actually somehow adapt what it means to play a story-based game where your choices matter and how many endings and new things you can discover. Hell, there's stuff in this game that I discovered many years in advance after 2015, ever since it came out. Like I still learned some new stuff, or at least new little moments you can have in the game that I never would have thought of, or I even knew existed, should I say. So that is the biggest thing I wanted to say about this movie, actually, and why I think I officially decided, no, I don't hate the movie. And even without that, I didn't hate the movie. It
Yeah,
was
no, I do
solid
think
enough.
this is an enjoyable movie.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the type of movie, in my opinion, that I could sit down and rewatch all the time? Or like, would I probably rewatch this ever? There's a slim chance, but it's only if somebody I love really wants to see it and hasn't seen it. I'll be like, sure, I'll sit down, be on my PC and whatever with and watch it with you. I'll probably be doing something on my laptop while we watch it, but like it's not something I think I'm gonna put on just to put on.
Yep, that's the same thought I had. I can't guarantee I ever watch it again on my own terms. If somebody else wanted to watch it, I'm like, fuck it, I'll watch it because I didn't hate it.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
So yeah,
any other thoughts? Because I feel like we're kind of at the point for rating.
I think we are too, because I said everything I feel like I wanted to.
Perfect. You want to kick us off?
I will kick us off with Until Dawn. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10.
Okay, okay. I'm actually right there with you. When
There
I
you go.
left the theater, I was like, I think this is a solid 6. It's not bad. It's a little like kind of middle of the road, maybe a little above middle ground, for films for me. It's
Definitely
not
above
a
a 5.
definitely above a 5. I 100% agree with you. Again, it is not a bad film. It's not the best film ever, but I do think there is enjoyable moments. I wish the characters had more depth within
Mm-hmm.
them, but I think just with the story premise, it was simpler to keep them simple. So
Yeah, that's fair.
so yeah, I'm right
And
there with you. 6 as well.
I think it would have been too hard to make us really care for these characters like the game, because you're playing those game characters. Even if they did something terrible in the beginning, you do grow to care for them, except for one. There's only one character I'm always okay with getting killed. And I'm always happy to do it myself because you can shoot that character. You can do it. Fucking him. So, yeah, that's all I got to say about Until Dawn.
Yeah, definitely sucks, man.
Oh my god, Emily fucking sucked.
All
You
right.
know what's funny too?
Yeah.
I know in the game you can of course show Matt that she was like cheating on him. Funny enough, I don't show him that because if you don't show him that, you have the opportunity to call Emily a bitch in the game. And I kind of love that for it.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, although it does kind of hurt that I got to keep lying to Josh and he doesn't know that who he thinks he's with ain't really with him.
That's really funny. Well,
Yeah.
everybody, you heard it here. We're both a rating of 6 for the 2025 film Until Dawn. Have you seen it? What did you think about it? Please let us know in the chat or in the comments. We'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. But yeah, for now, that we're gonna call it here. That's our review, guys. I'm Morgan, and that is Dreaded. Thank you for joining us, and we are the Wannabes podcast. We do want to remind you that if you want to follow us on social media, you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Blue Sky, and LinkedIn. You can search up Wannabes Podcast or Podcast Wanna. We'll show up either way. We're over on Twitch. We're over on YouTube. Give us a follow on both locations. And also, ding dong that bell. That way you get notifications, y'all. We're on Spotify too. You can listen to us on the go. And the final reminder I want to give you all is that you have until May 12th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time to go in to our store, buy our merch, and get 20% off. Because it's that time of year. Enjoy that Mother's Day sale. We appreciate you all so much, and thank you for listening. All right, y'all. We'll catch you next week with our movie review of Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, y'all. You have a good night. But next time, don't forget the popcorn. See ya.
If you forget the popcorn, I almost said Thunderbolt. A Wendigo's coming to your house.